Let's time travel to Universal in the 1940s. Monsters are everywhere: Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. And in the middle of them is a mysterious young woman with hypnotic eyes, wild beauty, and an origin story that nobody can quite pin down. She called herself Aquanetta. The studio called her the Venezuelan Volcano, and audiences, they called her unforgettable. But who was she? Today, we're going to dive into the wild, tangled, mesmerizing story of Aquanetta, Universal's forgotten queen of the jungle, and their strangest universal monster. I'm Antonia Carlotta, and this is Universally Me, the channel for all things Universal and classic horror. My family started Universal Studios, and they made the Universal monsters, and Aquanetta is part of that very monster lineage. If you've ever tried to figure out where Aquanetta came from, good luck. The truth of her background was something she danced around her whole life. Sometimes she claimed to be born in Wyoming, sometimes South Carolina, sometimes Pennsylvania. Sometimes she said her parents died when she was 2, that she was raised by an Arapaho family, or maybe by a family of artists, or maybe in a foster home. Sometimes she said her father gave her to her stepmom when she was just a kid. And sometimes she even claimed to be an illegitimate descendant of the King of England. In other words, she was Hollywood's perfect mystery. The truth, as far as we can tell, is a lot more grounded and more incredible. Aquanetta was born Mildred Davenport in 1921. South Carolina seems to be the place, before she and her family moved to Pennsylvania, where she was raised. I don't think she had the most stable childhood, yet she and her siblings were trailblazers. Her oldest sister, Carolyn, was executive secretary of the Philadelphia NAACP and helped desegregate public transit. Her brother, Horace, became the first Black judge in Montgomery County. Her sister, Catherine, was a psychiatric social worker, and her brother, Julius, survived being torpedoed as a merchant marine and was recognized by the White House. And yet, despite being from such an accomplished family, Aquanetta chose to disappear into fantasy. She moved to New York and completely reinvented herself. She lived at the Barbizon Hotel, she modeled, and she cultivated this mysterious aura. The stories she made up likely helped her conceal her Black heritage. She told people she was Venezuelan, she even faked a Venezuelan accent, and earned herself the nickname the Venezuelan Volcano. And this was working for her. She even had a plan to get herself a Venezuelan ID. But when a job opportunity came her way, she couldn't resist. And suddenly she found herself without any identification to show the Screen Actors Guild. Thinking quickly, probably desperately, she admitted to them she wasn't Venezuelan and said instead she was born Bernu Aquanetta to an Arapaho family in Wyoming. In the telling of this story, Aquanetta was supposed to be a combination of both of her parents' Arapaho names, of Laughing Water and Blue Skies. She said her name meant burning water in the Arapaho language, but it just sounds vaguely Spanish to me. It didn't matter though, Hollywood bought it all. They readily and excitedly created a whole marketing campaign around her silly Venezuelan story and then playing up her new Native American roots. By 1942, she signed to Universal, and in 1943 came her big break, Captive Wild Woman, with John Carradine and Evelyn Ankers. Aquanetta became the ape woman named Paula Dupree, a silent, haunting creation born from mad science and glandular injections, who could mesmerize animals with just her stare. Aquanetta doesn't speak a word in the film, but she insisted that that made her performance even more powerful. That every look, every bit of body language had that much more meaning that she intentionally put in the performance. I appreciate that she accepted the role of ape woman, one that many women would have scoffed at or turned down altogether. And she stood by her performance 100%. She committed to it. She had no interest in playing the part halfway. A few people have tried to tell me that Aquanetta is Universal's first female monster, which feels like a really big omission when we remember a certain someone. But when Aquanetta appeared in Captive Wild Woman's sequel, that did make her the first and maybe still only woman to play a Universal monster more than once. Just like the other Universal monsters, we have Jack Pierce to thank for the ape woman's look. And you'll notice in some forms, she looks just a bit like Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman, which came out just 2 years earlier. It's honestly pretty fantastic work by Jack Pierce and his team. It's very detailed, but I do have to wonder if her lack of conventional attractiveness as the ape woman prohibited her from being remembered like the other monsters were. But even as Universal was marketing her as this exotic jungle goddess, they also didn't quite seem to know what to do with her. She was cast as Amina in The Mummy's Ghost with Lon Chaney Jr., but after she fainted and got a concussion on set, she was replaced. She did appear with Chaney, though, on her last film for Universal, Dead Man's Eyes, in 1944. Universal would have happily churned out more ape woman movies with her as Paula Dupree, but Aquanetta wanted out. And she was right to leave. The next film without her, Jungle Captive, was a flop. But Universal never forgave her for leaving. She worked at Monogram and then RKO, where she got her flashiest role as the villainous leopard cult priestess in Tarzan and the Leopard Woman. But then her film career kind of sputtered out. I will admit, when I watch her performances, she is always beautiful, but she's not always the most powerful on screen. But if Hollywood tried to tame her, Aquanetta just reinvented herself again. She married several times, raised 4 sons, and became a local celebrity in Arizona. She hosted a live TV show, Aqua's Corner, ran a car dealership with her husband, and became known as a community leader and philanthropist. She was proudly sober and health conscious. She believed herself to be psychic and thought mysticism was so darn logical and the only reasonable way to live. In her later years, she always remembered her co-stars with warmth. In 1974, she published a poetry book called Audible Silence, and I've only read some of it, but it does give great insight into her mind, her thoughts on humility, on nature, on the meaning of life. Sometimes it's hard to tell in her life whether she was running away from something or running towards something, but she talks about it like she was running towards something. She wanted to feel confident, happy, helpful, successful. I couldn't tell you why she didn't feel those things innately within her, why it was such an effort or such a practice, but she was always trying to project those things out in the world, and she wanted to help others feel it too. It seems strange with so much success in one family that they could have had such instability in their childhood, but Aquanetta's life does read as somebody looking for love or connection that she didn't have. And it makes some of those tall tales about her childhood seem just a little more plausible. Leaving home so early for New York with so many conflicting origin stories, her apparent desperation to leave her past behind and become someone new. Her first divorce was tumultuous, and supposedly when she caught her third husband cheating, she filled his car with cement. Even her constant quest for attention and validation, whether modeling in New York, acting in Hollywood, becoming a radio DJ once she retired, or doing car commercials and hosting a TV show in Arizona. She lived all the way till 2004 when she passed away from complications from Alzheimer's at 83 years old. When her brother, Judge Horace Davenport, attended her funeral, he admitted to never seeing any of her movies. And there is something about all of these stories together that just make me think there really might be something more to her childhood. Aquanetta was more than the mystery Universal built around her. She was more than the Venezuelan Volcano or Paula Dupree or a pinup in leopard print. She was a woman who carved a path through an industry built on controlling women's images, and she did it her way. She made it impossible for the industry to define her because she was always redefining herself. She may not have gotten the monster legacy like the Draculas and the Frankensteins, but she is a universal monster, and she's the only woman to play one twice. And that makes her very important in the Universal history books. So here's to Aquanetta, forgotten queen of the jungle, and one of the most fascinating figures to stalk the Universal backlot. In the comments, tell me what you think Aquanetta's true origin story is. If you love these Universal and classic horror deep dives, make sure you're subscribed, share this video with somebody who loves a female monster, and don't forget paid members get bonus videos, pictures, and it's the best way to support Universally Me. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.